So if you're a woman who it feels like you're running to the bathroom all the time, you're blaming it on the fact you have a small bladder, then you have to watch this video. I'm going to talk about how to quit feeling like your bladder is running your life and how to solve it for good, so you can actually not have to worry about finding a bathroom every time you go out in public. We have more great videos all about this on this channel. My name is Dr. Dawn. I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist and co-owner of Level 4 PT and Pilates. So pelvic floor muscles down here in your pelvis, those help support your bladder function. And because your pelvic organs sit in your pelvic cavity here, you want to have these pelvic floor muscles functioning correctly. And many times doctors will tell women, go do your Kegel exercises, work on those Kegels every time you're sitting in the car, every time you think about it, and that is not always the case. So many times women have actually more tension in their pelvic floor muscles, and that can create more stress on the bladder. So it's not always about doing Kegel exercises and strengthening the muscles, but I want to explain a little bit more about what's going on and why your bladder feels like it gets that urgency all the time. So when women are pregnant, you have more of that pressure downward on your bladder area and on your pelvic organs. And when you are getting stimulated all the time and getting that feeling, your brain connects to your bladder and it gets used to it. So during the postpartum stage and beyond, we want to retrain the brain that it doesn't need that signal all the time to say, it's time to go, because you don't have a baby pushing down there on the bladder anymore. Now, this is common too for women who have never had kids, because we see a lot of times women in their past, if they were a dancer, ice skater, horseback riding, anything that worked on a lot of tension in your hip muscles and tightening of your belly toward your spine, that can create a lot of extra tension in your pelvic floor and therefore can stimulate your bladder more often too by having more tension down in those muscles. So we actually want to work on the opposite of Kegels, but down training your pelvic floor, getting those muscles to lengthen and relax, because with any other muscle in your body, you have to learn how to lengthen it, but also that when you are at that full length, you can generate a better contraction, better support and stability for the organs around there too. So if you're in this constant tension state, your muscles are tight and tense, you actually will not have as much support because it can't contract when it needs to. So we work on breathing exercises. We work on some manual stretching of those muscles. And as pelvic floor therapists, we are trained to do an internal assessment. It's not as invasive as going to the gynecologist, but with one gloved finger, we are stretching and putting a little tension on the pelvic floor in a very gentle manner. It does not hurt. And if it does hurt, we have ways to do it externally as well. So it's all about trying to get those muscles to a normal state. And that would be the number one way to help solve a bladder problem when you feel like you're getting that urgency all the time and you have to really run your life with where the bathrooms are, or have a GPS on your phone of make sure you know where the bathroom is every time you go to the store. Now, who wants to live like that? So we find other ways to help it. And many times if women don't know and they're going to their doctor, they are going to recommend Kegel exercises, or they're going to recommend some kind of gadget to put in there to cut off the flow of urine and help it. We've seen all sorts of things that doctors have set women up with that may help, but a lot of times it's a gimmick, and you want to go to the root source, which is solving the pelvic floor muscles to their normal state. So that would be the number one thing that we really see makes a huge difference in women's life with changing their bladder symptoms too. So part of it is training your brain and how it's connecting to the bladder. And we may do a little bladder training with having you fill out a log of what you're eating and drinking and what your activity is like over a 24-hour period, because that teaches us a lot too when it has to do with your lifestyle. But then it's going back to the core, the pelvic floor muscles, and how those are functioning and supporting the bladder. Another misconception is that women think they don't have to, if they drink more water, that they actually will have to go to the bathroom more often. And we find that actually being dehydrated, your bladder will get stimulated more often, that it needs to go to the bathroom. So carbonated beverages, even decaf, tea, regular coffee, decaf coffee, highly acidic foods or drinks, or even anything with artificial sweeteners, those can be a bladder stimulant. And we try to cut those out and diminish them a little bit out of the diet and see if it helps be able to slow down that reflex all the time of feeling like, I gotta go. So we may eliminate some things from your diet. It's not to say forever, but seeing if that also helps improve your symptoms as well. So the misconception is drinking less fluids, but you actually want to make sure you're drinking at least half your body weight in ounces of water. And your brain will get used to that connection with your bladder, and your bladder needs that fluid and good fluid in order to regulate itself. So it's not cutting the fluid, but it's drinking the right fluids too. The next thing, so you have what's called urge incontinence or stress incontinence. Urge incontinence is what we're talking about in this video. So it's when you get that urge all the time and you feel like your bladder needs to go all the time. Well, we try to train first the nighttime habit, because I think that's the most common, and it can be the hardest sometimes because you're waking up to go to the bathroom, it's interrupting your sleep, it gets really annoying, and you're not sleeping well if you're getting up multiple times to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So we do some bladder training with stopping the, you may get the urge, but there's some techniques to help it. So we may ask you to try counting backwards from 10. So it's tricking your brain. You're having to think about something else rather than thinking about getting up and going to the bathroom. You may want to change positions, kind of roll over to your side so you don't have as much pressure on your bladder. And you want to take some slow, deep breaths, maybe about 5 to 10 slow, deep breaths, because that also too is going to allow those pelvic floor muscles to relax a little bit more and change that stimulation of what's going to the bladder. So those are a couple tips that we try to cut out the nighttime bad bladder habits over and over. And therefore it can help carry over into your daily routine too. But first of all, we will try to fix that at night. And then next, in the combination of the bladder training with your brain and your pelvic floor and how those muscles are connecting, then we want to make sure that we're working on strengthening and supporting all the areas around your core, your hips, your glutes, and getting those muscles to support and stabilize. But also, if you have a lot of tension there, you may have really tight hips. So working on some yoga poses for relaxation. Sometimes it helps to sit in a butterfly stretch and really stretch those muscles of your inner thighs and getting those to help relax your pelvic floor a little bit. It's really underrated how much breathing exercises and stretching can actually do for any sort of bladder symptoms. Many times women will say that within the first 2 weeks, they're starting to feel less of that urgency. And then over time, it takes 6 to 8 weeks for your muscles to really adapt and take over with more flexibility and more strength and stability and control. So there is a lot that you can do in a more holistic route to help solve your bladder problem and not have it run your life. And if you want to learn more about this, I would invite you to watch more videos. We have another video about pelvic floor relaxation techniques that's coming up next. So those techniques are going to help reinforce some of the things that I talked about today. And I'd love for you to leave a comment below if this is something you're struggling with or you have questions about. We'd love to answer those as well. So if you like what you hear and you want more support from women's health topics, subscribe to our channel here, and we'd love to help you. Thanks for watching.